We'll get going. More people will probably join as we go, but we might as well get going. What I do recommend is if you are watching this on your laptop, then have your phone open in front of you with Fuelin on it, because that will help you go through. It's a very practical session. We'll go from there. So if you got any questions, either pop them into the chat uh, button, or if there's something urgent you want me to cover or stop, just raise your hand. It's only a small group, so it's pretty easy. Okay. So look, the whole thing today is about making sure you understand the program and actually get set up. So it's a very practical session. Before we start, there are real humans behind Fuelin. So from left to right, there's myself, Scott Tyndall. I'm one of the co-founders. I'm based in Sydney. And then you have Megan Foley, who's a registered dietitian. She's based in Utah and is a professional triathlete herself. And then Alan McCubbin, Dr. Alan McCubbin, who is a lecturer and senior lecturer at Monash University in Melbourne, a researcher, and also a fellow of Sports Dietitians Australia. So the coaches are available on the co-pilot program to ask questions to at any time. You can also book a consultation with any of us at any time, should you have any issues, whether you're on autopilot, co-pilot, or premium. And obviously they are available for working one-on-one if that is something that you would like to do as well. So I guess just a little bit of background, Fuelin. Look, the whole thing with Fuelin was really to make life easier for athletes. And yes, I'm the first to say that at the start, it's probably there is a lot of information to get your head around. If nutrition was super easy, everyone would be smashing it, and that's pretty much not the case worldwide. So yes, getting set up is probably the hardest thing. Once you start to learn the system, it becomes incredibly easy. And as a result, we eliminate decision paralysis around what to eat, when to eat, and the timings of meals and what to eat in terms of in particular foods before, during, and after sessions to maximize your health and recovery. So we use this simple carb light system, which is red for lower amounts of carbs. It doesn't mean bad or anything like that, but just think if you say red, you're eating for main meals, you're eating things like salads and vegetables, piece of fruit, things like that. If you're seeing it for a in-session fueling, then you're thinking, okay, lower amounts of carbs. When you see yellow and green, obviously it's just more carbs. Yellow is around 50 grams of carbs per meal, or somewhere between that 40 and 60 grams per hour. And then for green, you're sort of thinking, okay, it's around 100 grams of carbs as a target for a main meal. And if you get green for in-session fueling, then it's certainly higher amounts of carbs, and anywhere above sort of 70 grams is considered higher amounts of carbs. And so we're all about removing the guesswork. And everything is personalized to you based on your training calendar, whether you're creating that yourself within Fuelin or whether you're using a training platform like Training Peaks, TriDot, RunDot, or Humango. And then in terms of results, look, there is a lot of data in there that you can dive into. We try and keep that feedback loop going. We are looking at more and more ways to provide more and more feedback and data sort of analysis for you. One important thing, I think, just before we kick off is just understanding these carb colors. So on the left-hand side, you see the weekly overview. I will show how to get into that, but it's the top left-hand corner, that little calendar. If you have a look at the week overview, you'll see days of the week. The day of the week will be dictated by grams per kilogram, okay? So grams per kilogram, less than 1.8 gram per kilogram is considered a red day. Yellow is between 1.8 and 4 grams per kilo, and a green day is more than 4 grams per kilo, okay? When you look at the screen on the right, what you can see here, you can see that, for instance, it's circling today and it's a green day, but there are red meals within that day. And a lot of people will get confused with this. They're like, I don't understand why, if I've got red meals, is it a green day? Because ultimately with this individual, the number of meals where red signifies a target of around 30 grams of carbs, a yellow meal is around 50 grams of carbs, and a green meal is around 100 grams of carbs. When you add up all the main meals and snacks of the day, that amount of carbs, if you divide it by your body weight, will put you at more than 4 grams per kilo in this instance. Okay, so the color of the day is related to the amount of carbohydrates divided by your weight. The color of the individual meal is a target based on the individual meal. Okay, does everyone understand?
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Cool. Okay, it's just, look, sometimes people get a little bit confused. Once they get the handle of it, it's pretty easy. Okay. So as we go through, so we're going to set up, we're going to go through the setup, make sure your training plan and Fuelin, Apple Health, everything is connected and you know how to update your plan. In terms of week one, look, if you are going to track your weight, do it Monday and Friday morning, first thing in the morning after going to the toilet before drinking or eating, preferably naked or at least just in your underwear. Review your weekly intake data. So go to the weekly overview. And I generally recommend doing this on a Sunday, especially if you look at it on a Sunday, and I'll show you where to look. If your plan doesn't look right, then you hit refresh, and more often than not, it will then refresh and then reflect what's actually coming up in the week ahead. So it's always good to look at the previous week and the current week, and you can potentially even run your next week if your coach has the next week in. In terms of week one, don't panic. I think everyone gets so wound up on like, oh my God, I don't have enough calories or I got too much calories and all this sort of stuff. Just track and compare. You might be surprised. So many people think they know what is required, but the reality is that's why you're hopefully using the program. So sometimes I'd say just chill out, track. If you want to eat more than what we're prescribing, or if you want to eat less, then that's fine, but just track and compare. In week two, maybe take a look at what we're recommending and what you did, and then aim to change the focus. So more often than not, a lot of athletes coming onto the program will have very low protein intake on a daily basis and a weekly basis. We will be recommending somewhere between 2 and 3 grams per kilo. And if you listen to the podcast I did with Professor Stu Phillips, you'll learn that anywhere above 1.8 grams is probably going to be more than beneficial for endurance athletes based on protein requirements, whether you're young, old, male, or female. So we set you in that range, which covers all those bases. So you don't have to get too tricky with it. And then just compare. Try and hit your protein goals, try and follow the meal colors. If you do that in week two, you're probably off to a great start. And beyond that, you can then start looking, okay, maybe you nail your protein, then you go into fat and you go, okay, I'm always over on fat. What can I do to try and get that back more in line with what Fuelin's recommending? And then beyond that, if you've got races, if you've got events coming up, you can start to do things like your sweat and carbohydrate testing, which again, I'll show you where the recommendations are for that and how to do that. And then you can start to put together your race fuel and hydration plan in training so that you can execute it on race day. Okay, getting set up. So if you've got the app open in front of you, screen on the left, down the bottom, it says me. Tap on me, and this will bring up this screen. So here you've got your name and what your focus is. So in terms of where we're putting you in terms of caloric requirement, if it says weight focus loss, it's because your current body weight is less, your goal weight is less than your current weight. If you move your current weight to within 1.5 kilos of your current body weight, you will move to what we call a maintain focus. So you don't have to hit the exact number of what your weight goal is. It's a range. And then if your goal weight is more than 1.5 kilos above your current weight, we will push you into what is called a gain program. If you're in a loss program, you are in a caloric deficit. If you're in a maintain program, you are in a proposed isocaloric state. And if you're in a gain program, you will be in a caloric surplus. Okay, does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Cool. So if you ever are like, oh, I don't know, suddenly I've got lots of calories, just go to this page and see what your weight focus is. Maybe from last week to the current week, you actually hit your goal and therefore we've moved you into a weight maintain program. Now, that's not to say that that has to be your final weight. What I would always recommend is make the goal weight like smart. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timed. You might have a 20-pound weight focused goal and losing that, but don't put 20 pounds below your current weight at this point in time. Okay. Set it at like 5 or 6 pounds. Go through the journey, get to that spot, enjoy a refeed, maybe a few days. Then you can update by tapping in the little icon at the top, the settings, go to plan and weight goals, click in that, and then what you'll get, you can then update your goal weight and start again and then refresh your plan. So don't panic if we give you more carbs or more calories. It's probably because you've actually achieved your goal and you should celebrate that. Underneath
Would
that,
it- Sorry.
oh yeah.
Sorry, I don't have a place. Like I said, I haven't used this app before, so I don't have a place that I can see to type in a question. Um, I'll try and wait
Yeah.
till you stop, but would that be the same for gaining? Like if I have a larger gain goal, would you still start with smaller increments?
You could just leave it pretty big, to be honest, because end of the day, like we want to keep you. It's more the small is more for the weight loss because you don't want to be continually in a caloric deficit.
Understood. All right.
Whereas gain, look, if you've got a 10 kilo weight gain, I'd just leave it at that, and we just shoot for the stars with that, and we just keep making sure that you're always in a caloric surplus.
Thank you.
Cool. Boost your results, put in your races. That's really important. We've just updated that so you can add in the duration. We are adding in more updates to the race feature so that you can add in your start time as well. I know a lot of platforms like Training Peaks don't allow you to put in start time, so we will have that functionality in the very near future. You can look at this week versus last week, and I'll show you how to then compare that in weekly view. Your body weight tracking, if you are doing that, you can see what you've done. And then things like your sweat rate and carb tests, you'll have that underneath as you add those, and you can click on those as you go. All of this information is preset from onboarding. So if things, like if you've been in the program for a while and you want to update things, then certainly go to the settings icon and then use the list down the right-hand side just to change certain things. Your plan and weight goals, dietary preferences. If you need to update your connection, say your plan is not running, especially if you're with TriDot at the moment, if your plan does not run. Is anyone on TriDot on this call?
Nope.
Everyone's on Training Peaks?
I am currently, yes.
Okay. Is everyone else on Training Peaks as well? I'll assume yes. My connections, if you go to my connections and then you can refresh your authorization with Training Peaks. And that's where you can either change platforms, or if there's a connection, if there's a timeout in the connection, just go there, re-enter your information, and then it will update.
All right, I do have a question there.
Yep.
Would it be better? I don't have a coach. I just grabbed Training Peaks because it was suggested to, put my workouts in. Would it be better just to do it in Fuelin?
It's up to you, really. Are you using the premium service at Training Peaks?
I am not.
I'm not sure you can plan in advance on the non-premium Training Peaks. If you can, then you use that. If you can use that and plan in advance, do that. Otherwise, I would suggest using the Fuelin custom. So create your training calendar within Fuelin. And then what that will do is actually, it's sort of a little bit of a runaround, because then as long as you're connected, are you using Garmin?
Yep.
So if you've got Garmin Watch, if you connect Apple Health with Fuelin, if you've got Training Peaks connected to Apple Health and Training Peaks, then everything sort of talks together. So if you've got your training calendar in Fuelin, as long as you're logging it on Garmin, then Garmin will connect to Training Peaks. So you'll get all your data through Training Peaks.
Right.
Does that make sense? So that's sort of runaway. Some people do that if they don't want to pay the premium. So, but I didn't say that. So.
Okay.
Okay, down the bottom, tap on the home page, and we've got a number. This is what you'll be presented with. So this is your sort of at a glance what's happening. Okay, so in the top row, you've got your messages. You can click on that and you can have a look at messages. If you're with Copilot or Premium, you have direct access to the coaches. You can message them one-on-one. Your athlete section is also in that top right-hand section. There is a community board, although I believe the community board is down at the moment. So we're just working on getting that back up. Underneath that, what's next? So you can tap on the day or the date there. You can tap on the meal, and that will take you to the next meal in the time sequence of the day. If you tap on the weekly plan, that will bring up the weekly overview, and I'll run through that in a minute. Okay, scroll down. You've then got a carousel. You'll have things like your FAQs, welcome to Fuelin, getting started. I would 100% recommend you please read the welcome to Fuelin and read the FAQs. We've structured the top questions from athletes based on feedback and based on thousands of athletes using it. It's all very user-friendly. It will answer your questions very well. If you can't find the answer then certainly reach out to us, especially if you're on the autopilot plan. Underneath that, we've got recommendations, things like latest recipe, latest podcast, latest article. And then if you do want to book a consultation with one of the team, you can do that by pressing the button at the bottom. As I said, in the top right-hand corner, you've got the chat feature. You can use that and you can go to these chat channels. As I said, some of those channels are down at the moment for autopilot, but we will be bringing those back. And I talked about the FAQ. Okay, so if you're on the homepage and you're like, okay, I need to, and then you tap on dinner and you go across and you're like, okay, I'm now in the day view, but my day view sort of moved around. There's things that I moved in the session. In the top right-hand corner, you can hit refresh plan, and you can hit refresh plan at any time. You can also hit that from the weekly view. If you are going to refresh your plan and you're on Training Peaks, what I suggest is, if you're mainly on Training Peaks with custom Fuelin, it will obviously, you can move sessions within. Have a look on the desktop version of Training Peaks. So go through Monday to Sunday, go through your sessions, make sure that there's a session start time for each session. That's the drop-down little menu next to the session title. If your sessions are always in the morning, we do default before 7 o'clock in the morning. If you've got multiple sessions in the day, or you want to do your sessions later in the day, say after 7 o'clock, then you need to put a session start time in. This allows us to then set up the meal timing so that they're correct based on your timing of your sessions. In the session title, you want to put the session intensity. So this is a closed bracket 2 to signify zones 1 and 2, or a closed bracket 3 in the session title, which would be zones 3, 4, 5, or race pace or above. The closed bracket 2 is going to be lower carbohydrate fueling. The closed bracket 3 is going to be higher carbohydrate fueling when the duration of the session is sufficient. And then importantly, make sure all your sessions durations are in there, that nothing is at 0. If you are on Tridot or Humango, you don't need to worry about the intensity or the duration. If your coach provides you with structured workouts with intensity factor, you don't need to worry about the intensity either. Although some athletes will tend to override that and they'll put in specifically whether it's a 2 or a 3 based on what they want to do with fueling. Any questions on that?
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, I got a question on the duration.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I tap on the duration, I get that little drop-down menu where I can scroll for the times. Mm-hmm. The numbers that are listed in the times are very, very faint to read. I can barely read them. Is there any way in a setting
where are you talking about
in
Fuelin?
Yeah, I'm in Fuelin.
But when you bring it into the view, it becomes highlighted, the time. So you just scroll until find the time, which is then in bold.
Correct. But those 2 boxes that give me the scrolling feature for the hours and the minutes, I can barely read. I mean, you can't see the numbers on it. That's what I'm saying.
Even when you bring it into where you're selecting the time?
Yes.
Okay, can you take a screen record of that and email it to us?
Sure can.
That'd be all right, because we've had a look at this and we were like, oh, we can see it fine. So someone did report it. Are you on iOS or Android?
Android.
Okay. Yeah, can you take a screen record and just send it to me? Because we'd have a look at that. Just send it to scott@fuelin.com. Thanks, mate. What was your name?
Okay. Doug.
Doug. Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Okay, daily view. So if you click on, so let's say you're from here and you click on the day, Tuesday, 25th Feb. It's going to bring up this view on the left. Okay, so you'll have your up the top. Obviously, you got the date. You can scroll from week to week just by tapping those chevrons. You can refresh your plan, or you can tap the calendar up the top. Don't do that yet. I'll show you what that is. Underneath, you've then got the color of the day. The color of the day is related to the meals in the day and how it relates to carbohydrates relative to your body weight. Underneath that, you've then got protein, fat, carbohydrates, and calories. And what I've got circled here is a filter. So you can either select viewing meals and activities combined, you can select meals only, or you can select activities only. Some athletes prefer to see things separate. Some people love to see it combined. We are going to update the meals only so that sessions will still be in the view, but they just won't be counted towards the macro and calorie amount. Next to that is the two little chevrons, which you can tap, which I've highlighted on the right-hand screen. You can tap those, and that will either expand or collapse the view. What I would recommend is, if you're new to Fuelin, have the expanded view, because in the expanded view, we provide you with detail around things to potentially eat, things to avoid, meal timing, and obviously more information around what to eat in the type of session. So use the expanded view if you are new. Okay, in the calendar views, in the top left, I mentioned that you've got a number of options here to have a look at different views. So the view on the left is the daily view. If you tap that little calendar in the top left-hand corner, you will get a weekly view, which is this screen on the right. So you can tap then across the top. You can go forward a week. You can go forward at least 1 week if you've got a plan set. Otherwise, it will be all 0. And you can go back to the time and when you first started. And this is a really nice way of you seeing, okay, training volume, how is it compared week on week? How is total calories compared week on week? And what is your average daily calorie, and how does that compare day on day? And so underneath that, we've got a percentage of training volume increase, a percentage of total weekly calories, and then underneath the daily calories, you can see on an average daily basis how much the calories either go up or down. And this is really useful for those of you who sometimes are like, oh, I'm eating too much or I'm not eating enough, but it starts to put into focus, the training volume of how much you're doing, and therefore the relative increases in total calories or average daily calories. Down there, everything you log, anytime you log those days where you've logged will expand. Anything that is in the future will remain compressed. And so this was one of the features that was frequently requested and was an upgrade from Fuelin 1.0. Okay, in terms of quick actions, screen on the left is your day view. Down the bottom, you can hit the plus button in the middle, and it will bring up this quick action. So you'll be able to log the next meal that's correct to the time. You can log your weight if you forgot to. You can add a race or an event in, and then you can go to your chat from here. We will add more quick actions here, but for the time being, these are sort of the key ones that you might want to consider. Okay, tracking meals, everyone's favorite topic. When you tap on a meal cell, it will take you to this screen on the left. So what can you do? You can talk or type to Scooter. So if you tap where it says, what did you eat? You can either use that microphone or you can use the keyboard microphone, which I tend to use on the iOS. For Android, again, use your own microphone off the keyboard. I tend to talk to Scooter. I don't tend to type. I just find it easier, and you can talk in full sentences. So, but be specific. Don't just say bowl of porridge, okay? Doesn't really, it's just going to give you an average serving based on 100 grams weight. So what you want to do, or 3 ounces of weight. So what you want to do is really at the start, be specific. So for this morning, I had 3 eggs. I had 50 grams of ricotta cheese. I had 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and I had, what else did I have? And I had a cup of arugula with it. And so I will say that in 1 full sentence, and then that will be logged if you want to do it that way. You can, of course, use recents. So from left to right in that panel, you've got recents, which will pop up anything that you've recently logged. And that will be specific to either main meals, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or to snacks, any of the snacks. Recommended will be what we're recommending in terms of meals that fit close to the macros that we're recommending. So the protein amount will be specific or as close as we can get to the amount of protein we're recommending. And they will be recommended based on the carb color for that meal or that snack. Under favorites, you can favorite either from your recent or logged meals. You can also favorite from recipes, and I'll show you how to do that. What else? You can scan with a barcode. So you can use the barcode scanner to the right of the microphone and scan anything that you want. We are bringing in a way of logging, like creating a recipe. So once you've logged multiple items, you'll get the option to create a recipe if you want, and then call it whatever you want, and then save it into favorites. That should be released either this week or next week. I think that's about it. In real time, you'll notice that the rings will fill up. I do recommend that you preemptively log rather than retrospectively. So a lot of people either overeat or undereat based on what they actually ate. So it's better off saying, okay, let's have a look and see what I'm thinking about eating, log that before eating, and then going, oh, okay, I'm actually way under on protein and way over on carbs. I better not have 3 slices of toast. I'm only going to have 1, and actually I'm going to add some chicken to that to boost the protein, for instance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. In terms of, there are a couple of little features around logging. So you will notice that there is a quick log feature. If you hit quick log, it will log the exact macros of that meal or snack. Now, this was requested by a lot of athletes who eat frequently the same meal or same snack, especially pre-session, and have a pretty solid knowledge or understanding of what they're eating and the macros. May not be exact, but they're quite comfortable with that. If you can use quick log or you can track, as I described before. As I said, for those of you who understand your macros, good nutritional knowledge, and you're pretty happy with that, you can use the quick log. For those of you who are new, I would not recommend using quick log. The reason for that is because some people will be like, oh yeah, I'm logging everything perfectly. My macros line up exactly, yet actually I'm not actually achieving my goal, whether that's weight loss, weight maintenance, or weight gain. So you can sort of trick yourself into thinking you're being perfect with what you're eating, but the reality is it is a little bit more subjective and a little bit more of guesswork. If you do quick log, but then you decide to log, the logging will override the quick log, so it won't double up. And there's no right or wrong. I use the quick log a lot for pre-session workout snacks. I use recipes. I use Scooter to log. It's really, that's the reason we designed it the way we did, so that you have flexibility over the way you want to log food. Is anyone using MyFitnessPal?
No.
Cool. Doug, using it? Cool. Okay, sweat and carb tests. So you will see in a session cell whether you should log. At the moment we recommend it in every cell. You don't have to log a sweat and carb test. Certainly lower intensity, you might want to think about not doing them, although it is always interesting if you do a lower intensity session to actually see how much weight you lose as a result of fluid loss. So you can do it for zone 2 rides and runs. You can certainly do it when you're doing zone 3 or above sessions, bike and run it. So what you do, obviously review the session the night before. It's telling you, okay, maybe I'm going to do a log, I'm going to do a sweat and carb test. So if you're going to do that, you hit the log sweat and carb test button. You would weigh yourself before the session, okay? And if the screen on the right, you'd scroll down, you'd enter it there. You can then, if you want to log any of the fuel after the session, you hit log, and then you'll enter in whatever it is you ate using Scooter and the recommended products. You'll then hit the log sweat carb test, and I'll show you this again on the next screen. You can enter the fluid amount that you've consumed, where you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner there, total fluids consumed. Add in how much you consumed, update your weight after the session, and then hit fill in the subjective ratings, and then scroll down to submit. So when you are logging fuel, so if I go back, if you've hit fuel and hydration there and you've hit log, it will bring you to Scooter. Okay, so here there's recommended products. Of any of these products you want to favorite, just hit the tap the little love heart button, and they'll move into your favorites. So you can sort of narrow that down to things like whether you're using Precision or Cliff or Morton or Never Second. You can use the barcode scanner if you want to scan in your own products as well, or you can just talk to Scooter and, you know, maybe you've got a custom blend of maltodextrin 80 grams with, I don't know, 10 grams of fructose or something. You can do that as well. Once you've entered your information and you log your fuel there, you can do two things. You can either log it as a sweat and carb test where you've weighed yourself, or you can just hit the X in the top left-hand corner, and then the food will just be recorded against what you were recommended. Okay. Updating races. If you're on Training Peaks, then most of the time your coach will put in an event anyway. But if you want to put in an event, what question was there? Sorry. I'm currently using the Runner app. Yeah. It's funny that I've been trying to reach out to them, send them messages and say, please integrate with Runner, because I don't know, look, we get hundreds of requests to integrate with Runner, but at the moment they're just a little bit quiet. So the way you do it, Erica, is you would do the custom Fuelin plan, map out your training calendar in Fuelin, and then use Garmin and Runner, and then it would all update in real time. Similar to, sorry, what was the other lady's name?
Gwen.
Gwen, sorry. Similar to Gwen and how she's doing it. So if you create an event in Training Peaks, be specific. Don't just put in triathlon. Don't just put running race. Put in 70.3 Santa Cruz. Put in Sydney Marathon or 10-kilometer fun run, something like that. Go to the event, hit event goals. So you can see that on the right-hand screen. It's a little bit hidden, but hit the event goals, add in the distance, add in the duration. And then that's really important. If you do it within Fuelin, you can now add in the duration of the event that will take. And again, with the session title, if it is a custom event, be specific with the distance or whatever event you're doing. No one's on TriDot, so that's fine. So as I said, with Fuelin Custom, if you do want to add in, you'd hit that little plus button in the middle of the home screen, add a race, and then here you can either search through specific Ironman races or triathlons that are registered, and we're adding more and more registered or official events. Otherwise, you can create a custom event, add in the duration, the distance, the type of race, and everything like that. Okay, so I mentioned that you can also favorite recipes. So down in the fuel section down the bottom, you can go through here. We're adding more and more recipes all the time. So you can now search for keywords like chicken or tofu, things like that. And you can filter with the little filter button. But you can scroll through these. If you click on the card, it will bring up a larger card with the instructions on how to make it and the ingredients. You can favorite those. In the top right-hand corner on the left-hand screen, you've got the little love heart. That will bring up any meals or any recipes or products that you've favorited through this system. Next to recipes, you've got products. If you click on products, it'll bring up the screen on the right. Here, we've split this into fuel, hydration, and supplements. You can again favorite these, and these will appear in your favorite sections for in-session fueling. And you can go through the fuel, hydration, or supplement section for that. We are connected to the feed. If you're new to the feed, you will get a credit of $80 to $100, depending if you're Copilot, Premium, or Autopilot. They recently changed the way in which they allow customers to do it, because I think customers were a bit taking the piss with it. So if you're brand new to to the feed, it will give you the credit. If you're an existing user of the feed, they will provide you, I believe, 5% cash back. It's either 5 or 10% cash back. And so they'll do that. You can, with ADRA, we sent you emails about this, but ADRA protein bars, you get an $80 annual credit, $20 per quarter, which is pretty good. So I think you use Fuelin VIP as the code to take advantage of that. And then there is also a code once you've used your credit. Beyond that, if you do order more protein bars, I think there's a 20% discount code as well. They can't be used together though. You can't use your $20 credit and the 20% off. It's understandable. Okay, any questions?
Yep, you answered my only question about where to prepare the workouts. Should I just put them in the program or use Training Peaks? So
yeah, look, I think and the add race feature is improving. As I said, it should come out this week. I think it's this week or next week where you'll have like more and more drop down menus about the type of event. So to your question, Doug, you can create it as a high rocks event at the moment. Just be specific. You might need to reach out to one of the team to have a look at the fueling, because we're getting more and more people requesting high rocks and using the system for high rocks events. It's not what we specifically set out to, but we are building out more and more race specific fueling for events like high rocks. So just put it as high rocks and the location and the duration, and then reach out to one of the team if it looks a bit funky in terms of the fueling. Any other questions? You guys are very quiet. You guys are all very quiet. That's cool. Is anyone on Copilot? Anyone, or is everyone on autopilot?
auto.
Auto. Erica and Doug, you guys on auto or Copilot?
Auto at this point.
Cool. It's cool. Yeah, look, I mean, I think with this, just be patient. Thanks, Erica. I think with anything, like, just be patient with it. I think everyone, I don't know what it is. Everyone's doesn't have any sense of patience these days. And I always say to everyone, like, you know, whatever your health is or wherever you're at the moment, it didn't happen overnight. And nutrition is very similar to training. The first time you swam, bike, or run, I'm sure you weren't amazing. And it takes time, it takes a bit of effort. But once you put the effort in, and you know, it's always that old saying, isn't it? Hard things bring great rewards. So, you know, you put some effort in, you'll tend to see it, and it's about being consistent. And nutrition and training and sleep, it's all the same. It's just consistency brings results. So it's not a quick fix diet. It's not a fad diet or anything like that. It is based on the science that we know at this point in time. And it's all about periodizing your nutrition based on your training load. So the volume and the intensity. The system works. So I'm really pleased that you're all on it. And you know, if you've got questions, just reach out to us. And because you're with Autopilot, just reach out to coach@fuelin.com if you've got any technical questions or questions around your particular program. Otherwise, things like the Facebook group are useful, just asking general questions. Often the members are extremely useful. And the coaches also review that as well. Cool. Okay, cool. Well, if there's no further questions, I will say goodbye and look forward to seeing you using Fuelin more and more.
Thank you very much.
No,
Thank you.
Perfect. Good luck with all your events. Doug, which high rocks you doing?
I am set up to do the Atlanta High Rocks in 2 weeks, and then my year will come to an end with New York City in the end of May. That'll be my number 7 for this past season.
New York City High Rocks. 7 high rocks in
New York
City.
So 7 high rocks in 1 year. Yeah.
What's
Just
your best time?
returned. Pardon me?
What's your best time?
128.
That's solid. That's very good.
So 4th,
Yeah.
and that was down in Dallas. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice. There's the Sydney. I did the Sydney event last year with a mate. It was good fun, but it's completely sold out this year. And I think Melbourne might have sold out as well. So we don't get many
yeah,
events here.
they're going quickly now.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, all good. We'll enjoy. And yeah, Doug, if you set up that event, just reach out if it doesn't look quite right at this point.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you.